In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a forgotten secret stirs. An ancient dragon fought lost to extinction, a fearless child who can calm its fire, and a weary traveler forced to choose between survival and sacrifice. As corporate hunters close in, one impossible decision could ignite a legend that changes everything. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us in the comments where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The Star Harbor Tavern sat quietly on the farthest rim of the Orion Fringe. It was a place where travelers paused between endless journeys. A place of silence, broken only by the soft hum of starship engines docking in the distance. Dim lanterns floated above worn metal tables, and the air carried the scent of old space spice and recycled oxygen. Behind the counter stood Jorah, a bartender who had seen more secrets than any historian could ever record. Her hands moved steadily as she polished a crystal glass that shimmered like a frozen star. Few guests filled the room. A pair of miners whispered over a drink. A cloaked trader studied maps glowing across his wrist. The tavern was calm, too calm, until the doors slid open with a tired hiss. A man walked in, shoulders bent from long travel. His name was Leonard Vale. He carried the air of someone who had wandered too far and seen too much. His coat was faded, its seams patched with fabrics from distant colonies, and his boots carried dust from forgotten moons. His eyes held the kind of weariness that belonged only to those who had listened to the silence between stars. Jorah watched him cross the room without a word. She poured a pale blue drink that shimmered with a faint glow. Leonard settled on the nearest stool, his fingers wrapped around the glass as though the warmth of it could anchor him in place. "Rough flight?" Jorah asked, her tone casual, as though they had known each other for years. "Long one," Leonard replied, his voice quiet, almost a whisper. He lifted the glass and drank. The liquid hummed in the air before settling into silence. For a moment, there was only calm. But then a sharp crackle broke through. A communicator strapped to his belt lit up in warning. Its sound was urgent, carrying across the empty tavern like a cry for help. Leonard's jaw tightened. He tapped the device. A voice burst through, frantic and uneven. "Emergency, medical request, priority, juvenile draconian creature, alive, suffering, please respond." The words hit harder than the strongest drink. Draconian creatures, known in half the galaxy as space dragons, were believed to be extinct. Their bones and teeth had been sold to corporations, their memory buried beneath greed. Yet here was a voice claiming one still lived. Jorah leaned across the counter. "Did I hear that right? A living dragon?" Leonard didn't answer immediately. His gaze was fixed on the communicator, the glow of its message reflecting in his tired eyes. He had heard many strange requests in his life. As a cosmic dentist, his work had led him to treat creatures most people only whispered about. But this was different. This was impossible. The message repeated, this time with more detail. Location, research vessel Emberlight. Dragon in severe dental pain. Containment unstable. Child aboard. Only the child can approach safely. Please. Urgent response required. The word child struck deeper than anything else. Leonard's hand tightened around the communicator. He had always chosen his path to avoid children. His patients were usually creatures, machines, or beings who preferred silence over chatter. But the idea of a child, stranded with a suffering beast, caught between fear and fire, stirred something he could not ignore. He lowered the device slowly, exhaling a breath he had not realized he was holding. "You're not really considering, are you?" Jorah asked. Though her words carried no judgment, her eyes revealed the weight of concern. "I don't know what I'm considering," Lenor admitted. "But if what they're saying is true, if there's a child in the middle of this, I can't stay here and pretend I never heard it." He finished his drink and pushed the glass back across the counter. The tavern seemed to fall quieter still, as if even the walls were waiting for his decision. Jorah gave a slow nod. "Then you'll need more than luck. You'll need courage, and maybe a miracle." Lenor rose from the stool. His frame was lean but strong, worn by years of wandering. He carried no weapons, only a worn satchel filled with strange tools and instruments. His craft had never been about fighting wars. It had always been about healing what others thought could not be healed. Outside, the endless void of stars stretched in every direction. His ship, a battered vessel known as the Silver Molar, waited with quiet patience. Its hull bore scars of past journeys, but its engines were steady, its systems loyal. As Lenor prepared to board, he felt the weight of choice pressing upon him. He could ignore the call, stay safe, and let someone else face the impossible. Or he could answer, risk everything, and discover whether legends could still breathe. The communicator pulsed once more, softer now, almost pleading. "Please, dragon in pain, child at risk, need you." Lenor closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with quiet resolve. "Set a course," he muttered to himself, stepping into the ship. "Let's see if hope still hides in the dark." The engines roared to life, breaking the silence of the harbor. From the counter, Jorah watched the ship lift away. She whispered to no one in particular, "May the stars guide you, stranger." The Silver Molar rose into the endless night, chasing the faint signal across light years. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a forgotten creature cried out in pain. And a child waited for help. The galaxy turned on, unaware of the choice that had just been made. And so the journey began. The ember light drifted in the void like a wounded leviathan. Its hull shimmered faintly with protective shields, but the energy fields pulsed unevenly, a clear sign that the ship had been under constant strain. Inside its long corridors, silence pressed against the walls, broken only by the occasional alarm or nervous whisper. Lenor Vale stepped through the docking bay doors, his boots echoing on metal floors that bore the scuffs of hurried footsteps. The air smelled of burnt wiring and sterilized chemicals, the kind used by scientists trying to keep chaos at bay. Waiting for him was Captain Relin, a tall figure with pale skin that seemed to carry the weight of sleepless nights. His eyes were sharp yet tired, and his uniform had lost its crispness, wrinkled from days of tension. "You must be Lenor," Relin said, his voice steady but strained. "Thank the stars you came. We are holding together by threads." Lenor nodded, adjusting the strap of his satchel. "Your message mentioned a draconian creature and a child." The captain hesitated before speaking, as though still trying to believe it himself. "Yes, the creature is alive, juvenile, but powerful. Its pain grows worse every hour. And the child," he stopped, choosing his words carefully. "The child is the only one who can calm it." They began walking through the long corridors of the Emberlight. Crew members stood aside, some with extra limbs, some with glowing eyes, all of them exhausted. Fear hung over them like a shadow. As they moved deeper into the ship, a faint vibration grew stronger. It was not machinery. It was a low, rhythmic sound, like the breathing of something immense. "We found the egg months ago," Captain Relin explained. "We thought it was fossilized, a relic of the past, but it hatched." And when it did, everything changed. Leonard's steps slowed. You are telling me you are harboring a living draconian dragon? Something everyone in the galaxy believes to be extinct. Extinct is what the corporations want us to believe, Reelan answered grimly. But the truth is here, in our cargo bay, and it is suffering. They reached a massive set of reinforced doors. Outside stood a small figure, dwarfed by the towering walls. It was a child, no more than 8 years old. Her hair was dark, tied back loosely, and she wore an oversized coat that nearly dragged along the floor. In her arms, she clutched a worn teddy bear patched with bits of machinery. She looked up with sharp eyes that seemed older than her years. "Are you the tooth doctor?" she asked without hesitation. Leonard blinked. "That's one way to put it." "You're late," the girl said simply. "Spark is hurting. He's been saying ouchie since morning." Captain Reelan cleared his throat. "Leonard, this is Nira. We discovered her too late in our voyage to return her to Earth. She was hiding among the artifacts we collected. She has bonded with the creature." Nira tugged at Lenor's sleeve and pointed toward the sealed doors. "Come on, Spark is waiting." The doors groaned open with the weight of ancient machinery. What lay beyond made even Lenor, a man who had seen countless impossible sights, draw in a sharp breath. The cargo bay was vast, its ceiling stretching higher than a cathedral. In the center, curled in restless discomfort, lay the draconian dragon. Its scales shimmered like molten metal, shifting between deep blues and blacks. One enormous eye glowed with an inner fire, and each breath sent a wave of heat through the chamber. Lenor froze. The creature was magnificent, terrifying, and vulnerable all at once. Nira walked forward fearlessly, the oversized coat swishing around her small frame. "Spark, the doctor is here," she said gently. "He's going to help." The dragon's head lifted slowly, the ground trembling with the motion. Its jaw parted slightly, revealing rows of teeth that gleamed like forged steel. One tooth, near the back, was cracked and darkened, pulsing with faint light. The creature gave a low whimper, a sound that seemed too soft for something so massive. Leonard swallowed hard, stepping closer. His instincts told him to retreat, but his purpose pushed him forward. "That's quite the cavity," he murmured. The dragon's glowing eye fixed on him, suspicious and wary. Leonard felt sweat gather at his temples. "It's okay, Spark," Nira said, stroking the dragon's snout as if comforting a house pet. "He's here to help." The dragon exhaled, sending a rush of hot air across the bay, but did not lash out. Instead, it lowered its head again, allowing Nira to rest her hand against its scales. Leonard crouched beside the enormous jaw, pulling his tools from the satchel. The cracked tooth was unlike anything he had ever seen. It wasn't just enamel and bone. It shimmered with a metallic essence, as though forged by both biology and fire. "Incredible," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. But before he could examine further, alarms blared across the ship. Red lights flashed along the walls. Captain Reelan's voice echoed through the intercom. "Warning! Unidentified vessel on intercept course. Corporate signature detected. Time to contact, 20 minutes. The dragon stirred, letting out a sharp growl that shook the crates stacked against the walls. Nira pressed her forehead against its snout, whispering soft words. "They're coming for him, aren't they?" she asked, her voice steady despite her age. Leonard looked from the child to the dragon. The weight of the moment pressed heavy on him. "Yes," he said quietly. "They're coming, and they won't stop." Nira clutched her patched teddy bear tighter. "Then we have to protect him, no matter what." The dragon's massive eye blinked, and for a brief second, Leonard felt as if the creature understood every word. The alarms kept screaming. The ship trembled as it prepared for what was to come. And in that charged silence between each warning siren, a fragile bond grew stronger between the weary dentist, the fearless child, and the restless beast whose survival might change the galaxy. The ember light trembled as the alarms howled through its corridors. Every crew member froze for a moment, knowing exactly what the signals meant. Danger was closing in fast. On the main deck, glowing screens displayed a warship moving toward them at alarming speed. Its silhouette was sharp and merciless, a design recognized across the galaxy. Captain Raylan stood at the control hub, his hands tightening on the railing as the ship's scanners confirmed their worst fear. Iron Fang Syndicate, he muttered, voice grim. They've found us. The name alone sent shivers through the crew. The Iron Fang Syndicate had built an empire by hunting, exploiting, and selling the remains of legendary creatures. Their fortune came from what they called resource extraction, but everyone else knew it as slaughter. If they discovered a living draconian dragon on the Emberlight, there would be no mercy. In the cargo bay, Leonard Vale listened as the intercom echoed with updates. His tools lay scattered on the floor where he had been studying Sparkclaw's fractured tooth. Beside him, Nira held on to the dragon's snout, whispering to keep the restless beast calm. The glowing eye of the creature flickered with unease, sensing the threat drawing near. "Corporation hunters," Leonard said quietly, his face pale. "They won't stop until they have him." Nira looked up at him with fierce determination. "Then we don't let them take him." The dragon rumbled low in its throat, a sound of both pain and warning. Smoke curled from its nostrils, swirling in the thick air of the bay. The ground shook as Sparkclaw shifted restlessly, wings twitching against the steel walls. Captain Rellin entered the bay, his expression hard. "We have less than 20 minutes. Their weapons are locked, and they are demanding to board under the claim of routine inspection. But we all know what they are after." Leonard rubbed his temples, his mind racing. "We can't fight them. Not with your crew, not with this ship. But maybe we can fool them." Rellin narrowed his eyes. "Fool them? How?" Leonard glanced at Sparkclaw's cracked tooth, then at the piles of mining equipment stacked in the corners of the cargo bay. "Your research vessel has forges, correct? Machinery for shaping metals and alloys?" "Yes," Rellin answered cautiously. "We use them to study asteroid samples. Why?" "Because if we cannot hide the dragon, we must create something they will believe is him," Leonard said firmly. "A replica, a mechanical shell. Enough to convince the Syndicate that the creature is not alive." The crew murmured nervously. The idea was outrageous. They had minutes, not days. But desperation had a way of making impossible plans the only plans. Nira stepped forward, clutching her patched teddy bear. "We can do it. Sparkclaw can hide, and they'll see the fake. Please, Captain, we have to try." Sparkclaw rumbled again, lowering its head beside the child, as though agreeing. The massive eye glowed with faint trust. Raylan exhaled slowly. "If we attempt this, every hand on this ship must help. Engineers, miners, anyone with the strength to carry or the skill to build. It will take all of us." He turned to his communicator. "All crew, report to Cargo Bay Alpha. Prepare to construct." Within minutes, the cargo bay transformed into a storm of activity. Welding sparks lit the shadows. Mining tools hammered against metal plates. Crates were stripped down for usable parts, and engines cannibalized for energy. Every able hand worked, driven by the same fear and the same fragile hope. Leonard directed the process, his mind sharper than it had been in years. He ordered thick plating, shaped into scales, wiring arranged into glowing eyes, and heat vents disguised as nostrils. The replica began to take form, a rough shell that mirrored Sparkclaw's shape. Nira stayed by the real dragon, her voice a soft constant. "It's going to be all right, Spark. Stay still. Stay quiet. They won't find you." The young beast curled deeper into the hidden compartments built into the cargo bay walls, groggy from sedatives Leonard had carefully administered. Its breathing slowed, still rumbling, but softer now, tucked away where scanners might miss its life signs. Just as the final pieces of the decoy fell into place, a new alarm blared. The Iron Fang Syndicate was hailing them. Captain Reelan pressed the comms, his voice calm, though his pulse raced. "This is the research vessel Emberlight. State your P." A cold, clipped response came back. "This is routine inspection. We have reason to believe you carry contraband biological material. Prepare for boarding." Reelan glanced at Leonard. The dentist gave a grim nod. The illusion was ready, though barely. The cargo bay lights dimmed as the great doors slid open. A line of heavily armed syndicate officers marched in, their armor black and gleaming, their visors reflecting the dim light. Behind them walked a thin man in a dark suit, his expression sharp as a blade. His eyes scanned the bay until they fell upon the replica. The massive shell loomed in the center, scales glinting under harsh lights, eyes glowing faintly. He stepped forward slowly, lips curling into a cruel smile. "So," he said, voice dripping with greed, "you thought you could keep a draconian specimen from us." He circled the mechanical decoy, tapping the metal lightly with his finger. The sound echoed, hollow yet convincing. The officers tightened their grips on their weapons, waiting for an order. Hidden within the walls, Sparkclaw lay silent. Nira pressed her hand against the steel near its head, whispering again, "Stay still, Spark. Don't move. Don't breathe too loud." The suited man's smile widened. "This will make the syndicate very pleased. Confiscate the creature. Prepare transport." The crew of the Emberlight held their breath. The deception was working, for now, but Leonard knew the danger was far from over. One mistake, one sound, and the shadow of the syndicate would devour them all. The cargo bay of the Emberlight felt like the center of the galaxy. Every soul aboard seemed to hold their breath as the Iron Fang Syndicate officers studied the massive figure in the middle of the room. The replica dragon stood tall, pieced together from metal plates, engines, and scraps of ship hull. Its glowing eyes flickered with artificial fire. Wires ran beneath its scales, venting faint bursts of steam to mimic breath. To anyone watching from a distance, it looked alive, and that illusion was all they had. The syndicate officer in the dark suit walked slowly around the decoy. His boots clicked on the steel floor with a sound that echoed too loudly in the silent room. He touched the surface of the replica, tapping the cool metal with sharp fingers. The hollow clang sent a chill down Leonard's spine. He forced himself to stay calm, standing at the edge of the bay with Captain Reelan. Both men wore expressions carved from stone, hiding the storm of fear beneath. The officer narrowed his eyes. A specimen this size, valuable beyond measure, and yet strangely unresponsive. He gestured to his soldiers. "Scan it." A handheld device hummed as one of the guards passed it over the replica. The readings flashed across its screen, showing faint heat signatures and hollow energy readings, exactly what Leonard had engineered. The forged illusion was hold. Still, every heartbeat felt like an eternity. Hidden deep in the bay's reinforced vents, the real dragon's Sparkclaw rested, sedated but alive. Nira crouched near the hidden compartment, her small hand pressed against the metal wall, whispering quietly to the young beast. "Stay calm, Spark. They don't see you. We're keeping you safe." The dragon rumbled softly, a vibration so faint it blended with the hum of the ship. After a tense silence, the suited officer gave a sharp nod. "Confiscate the remains," he said coldly. "Prepare to move it to our vessel." Several soldiers moved toward the replica, attaching cables and clamps. Sparks flew as they began securing it for transport. The crew of the Emberlight exchanged nervous glances but remained silent. Leonard's jaw tightened. If they discovered the truth before leaving, there would be no escape. Yet the plan depended on patience. The officers had to believe they had won. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the syndicate officer straightened his coat. "This inspection is complete. Your vessel is now free of suspicion. Be grateful that we leave you alive." With that, he turned sharply and led his team back toward their docking bay. The soldiers dragged the massive replica along, its metal claws screeching against the floor. When the heavy cargo doors finally closed behind them, the Emberlight seemed to exhale in unison. Captain Raylan dropped into a chair, his face pale with relief. "I can't believe it worked," he muttered. Leonard's hands trembled slightly as he gathered his tools. "Neither can I, but illusions can buy us time." Time was all we needed. In the corner, Nira tapped gently on the steel panels. "It's okay now, Spark. They're gone." With a groan of shifting metal, the hidden wall slid open. Spark-Claw stirred, his glowing eye blinking open. The dragon let out a low, weary breath, heat rolling across the bay. He was alive, still but safe. Nira threw her arms around his snout, her small voice breaking with relief. "We did it! You're safe!" The creature rumbled, a sound deeper than thunder, yet carrying a strange softness. It lowered its head, pressing gently against the child as if thanking her. Leonard approached slowly, his expression caught between exhaustion and wonder. This galaxy may think dragons are gone, but tonight proved otherwise. You are living proof, Spark-Claw. And you must remain hidden if your kind is to survive. The dragon's great eye met his, and in that moment, Leonard felt something stir deep inside, a bond formed not of words, but of trust. Captain Raylan straightened his shoulders, his voice firm again. "The Syndicate will believe they claimed their prize. They will leave us for now. But we must stay cautious. If they suspect anything, they will return." Leonard nodded. "Then we move carefully, and we protect him at all costs." Nira looked up, her face glowing with determination. "We're his family now. He trusts us. We can't let him down." The cargo bay fell quiet, except for the steady hum of the ship. Spark-Claw shifted his wings, folding them tightly against his body, as though he understood. Beyond the walls of the Emberlight, the Syndicate warship drifted away, carrying nothing but an empty shell. The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the small victory that had just unfolded. But inside the ship, a new story was beginning. Leonard leaned against a railing, watching Nira laugh softly as Spark-Claw nudged her with his massive snout. For the first time in years, he felt the weight on his shoulders ease. He had chosen to answer the call, to risk everything, and in return, he had found something rare: hope. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. Perhaps the galaxy still has a few secrets worth protecting. Maybe it's not the teeth of dragons that shine brightest in the dark, but the trust we keep alive. The words hung in the air like a quiet. Spark-Claw let out a final soft rumble, curling close to the girl who had given him comfort.